Do you know that Iceland contains some of the most eruptive volcanoes in the entire world? Scientists have been researching these active volcanoes for a long time now, and the recent discovery in Iceland changes everything. One of the most active volcanoes in Iceland is called the Katla supervolcano. This volcano is located in the southern part of Iceland and has been active for over 1,000 years now. This volcano is one of the most dangerous in the area, and its violent outbursts have been happening for over 100 years now. If this volcano erupts again, as it happened in the year 1934 AD, it would be the largest and most powerful eruption that would happen in this area in over 100 years. We'll tell you more about these violent eruptions before we move ahead. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell while you're at it. 2010 volcanic eruption. On April 14, 2010, an unannounced sudden volcanic eruption happened in Iceland. As a result of the volcanic dust and ash smoking the air, flights were delayed and travelers were trapped at the airport. The airports were opened several days later. As per reports, about 60% of European flights were cancelled and hundreds of thousands of passengers had to suffer. Even though it was an extremely terrible eruption compared to some of the others, this one could have been significantly worse. According to the reports by Susan Stipp, a geochemist at the University of Copenhagen in Denmark, an abnormally high fraction of the ash particles spewed skyward by Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull volcano and therefore posed high risk to airplanes and human health, so the 7-day shutdown of much of Europe's air traffic ordered by civil aviation authorities, which affected 10 million passengers and cost billions, was justified. As per the sources, Eyjafjallajökull began erupting on 20th March 2010. For the first couple of weeks, lava oozed from a fissure on its ice-free flank, and the resulting ash plume was anything but impressive. On 14th April, however, the molten rock began flowing from the ice-filled crater at the mountain's peak, and the eruption became explosive. The resulting plume of ash wafted southeast over Europe and triggered the largest disruption of the continent's air traffic since World War II. The eruption was dangerous for both the people and the grazing animals, so it was a matter of losing big bugs versus losing people, said Susan Stipp. In the past, there have been devastating consequences of these eruptions. For instance, the year 1816 was called the Year Without Summer, as the sun was hidden behind the dark clouds, smoke, and ashes that were released by volcanoes. The result was a prolonged winter. All of Europe's airports might close if there's another year without summer in the continent. What is the new scientific discovery? Scientists have made a startling discovery in Iceland that changes everything. Assistant Professor Trivik Verma from the energy science sector at ETH Zurich created a map of the world's aircraft traffic that includes 18,000 possible routes between 3,237 airports. He's revealed that the network is incredibly strong. According to Verma's report, the average number of connections between any two airports on Earth is 4, with the longest distance between any two locations being 12 connections. There are 73 major airports, such as those in Frankfurt, Dubai, Los Angeles, Heathrow, Chicago, and so on, which connect more airports than any other place. It's being claimed that a volcanic eruption in any of these major airports could cause disturbance. However, the good news is that it wouldn't result in the disturbance of the global air traffic network. The main threat posed by these volcanic eruptions is to 3 periphery connection hubs that are significant parts of the global air network. For instance, the St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport in Tampa Bay, Florida, has connections to 24 different airports that are not otherwise served by the global air traffic network. If a massive volcano erupted in the United States or in Mexico and forced the closure of Petersburg Clearwater Airport, these 24 peripheral airport hubs would end up in destruction. Therefore, if a dangerous supervolcano erupts, the populated area of the planet will experience inconvenience. Of course, they will be able to redirect the whole network, but then who will be the most vulnerable in such a situation? Obviously, the large number of people living on the perimeter of the global air network. These are the ones who need to worry about the eruptions of these supervolcanoes. If they're affected by it, then it would be a global disaster. Large-scale volcanic eruptions and their threat. The image of huge disastrous volcanic eruptions has been imprinted in our brains ever since we were children, like the shattering of planet Earth, the volcanic explosions followed by rushing of smoke and explosions of lava that are spilling out in all directions. Despite this, Even in the worst case scenario, these mega eruptions wouldn't cause the world aviation network to fully shut down. However, that doesn't mean these volcanic eruptions on a large scale aren't deadly. In fact, some of these mega eruptions could actually destroy the entire planet. Currently, scientists are warning us about a catastrophic mega eruption that could possibly result in global devastation. Recent studies show that even if a volcano erupts on a small scale, it's enough to destroy this modern world. According to a global risk researcher at the University of Cambridge, current calculations are too distorted toward massive explosions or nightmare scenarios. Even eruptions on a minor scale could release enough ashes to disrupt the networks that are essential to global supply chains and financial systems. Evidently, smaller and moderate volcanic eruptions don't get our notice as much as their more thunderous and catastrophic counterparts. However, they can cause more damage overall. A typical example would be the magnitude 6 volcanic eruption from Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines in 1991, which was approximately 100 times more powerful than Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull volcanic eruption in 2010. However, the 2010 Iceland eruption was the costliest in history, with a total damage bill of around $5 billion, while losses from Mount Pinatubo's far larger volcanic eruption were only a fraction of that, about $740 million in 2021. But what's the reason behind this imbalance? Historically, volcanic risk assessments have suggested that the greater the power of a volcano's eruption, the greater the danger, but this may no longer be the case. Moderate volcanic eruptions in the Pacific Northwest. Moderate volcanic eruptions in the Pacific Northwest have the potential to disrupt trade and travel in both the United States and Canada, causing massive economic harm to both countries. Simultaneously, volcanoes in Iceland have the potential to create a kind of pinch point in the North Atlantic, disrupting aerial traffic between London and New York and causing serious delays for international transportation networks and trade. Other pinch points on the planet are in Malaysia and the Mediterranean, threatening some of the world's busiest shipping routes. Another one is located in the Luzon Strait, which is a vital route for importing underwater telecommunications cables connecting Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, and South Korea. All these could be damaged by volcanic eruptions, resulting in unpredictable tsunamis and submarine landslides, causing severe disruptions to communication abilities and financial markets. When we consider the tremendous destructive power of volcanoes, these kinds of downstream effects aren't the first things that come to mind, but perhaps they should be. Researchers argue that it's time to change how we think about catastrophic volcanic danger. Scientists argue that we should stop picturing the planet being destroyed by gigantic eruptions like in Hollywood movies. The recent volcanic eruption, the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai volcanic eruption in 15th January 2022, was the largest one recorded since the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883. Reportedly, the eruption triggered tsunami waves of up to 15 meters, which struck the west coast of Tongatapu, Eua, and Hapai. Ashfall covered an area of at least 5 square kilometers. As a result of this, significant damage to international and domestic undersea telecommunication was caused. So it is a fact that smaller and moderate volcanic eruptions can harm our global traffic network. Recently, new volcanic eruptions are causing a lot of fear among people, especially those living near the volcanoes. The idea that a volcano might erupt is hardly a shocking revelation because we know they do. We see them erupting all the time, and we know how destructive they can be. From what the scientists have observed, authorities should now take into consideration that every year, big volcanic eruptions can put the air traffic at risk, and there's a high chance that it will happen. That does it for this video. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.